Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Nacho Cheese.
And I'm Unctuous, and we're about to get into the first game of Round 2. Round 2, if you guys were reading the thread, is going to be a best of 3. Our first map is going to be MLG Test Bug. Right now we're going to get into a TVZ. These are two Diamond players, BigPotato and Stilgar. And I'm not sure what to expect. I haven't seen how either of these players play, and I don't think Nacho Cheese has either.
Definitely not. This is going to be new to me. Now, once again, this is the small-time tournament. This is, clearly a small-scale tournament started by a StarCraft Redditor named RabbitBot. In StarCraft, his name is Zen. So, big love goes out to him for organizing and getting this started. And this week, our players are mostly between Diamond and Masters leagues. So we are seeing some pretty high-level play. As Unctuous mentioned, BigPotato and Stilgar are both Diamond-level players. So they're not Masters, which means they're not great. It simply means they're good. So we should be seeing some solid play from both of these players. And I'm really excited to see what's going to happen on MLG Test Bug, as I have never casted on this map before, and I have never played on this map before. So I just don't know what sort of interesting trivialities the map is going to introduce to this whole situation. Unctuous, you said you played it a little more. How about you talk for a little bit about the map?
Yeah, sure. I absolutely love MLG Test Bug. It's one of my favorite maps to cast, one of my favorite maps to play. It is a 3-player map, which is kind of out of the ordinary, and right outside of each player's natural, there is a Zelnaga watchtower covered by rocks, destructible rocks. And that is a great thing to control if you are an opponent. You can control your opponent's watchtower, destroy those rocks, and you can see anything coming out of the choke point between the natural and the main. And then right in the middle of those 3 towers, there's an open Zelnaga watchtower, which each of the 3 destructible rocks-covered ones are entirely in vision of. Now, getting into this game, it looks like we have one barracks going down for our Red Terran, who is BigPotato, spawning in the eastmost corner of the map, and our Green Zerg is going for hatch first, it looks like. Now just opting to get that spawning pool in the southmost corner of the map.
So this is completely standard play. Nothing cheesy really going on between these two players. We're not seeing any sort of 2 racks go on from the Terran player that has been so popular really since MLG Columbus, when Hydra lost to it in such spectacular fashion against MMA. Really, ever since then, all I've seen in TVZ is this 2-rack bunker rush sort of play. So BigPotato, thankfully for us, not doing that, going to be playing a much more standard game. And his SCV going to get down here and spot that, yes, there is a hatchery here, yes, it is going to be up, and there's a spawning pool as well, and Stilgar responding quite naturally, just getting a couple lings to sort of chase that SCV away, make sure he doesn't do anything sneaky or suspicious, keep him out of his base, allow Stilgar to continue to drone up. BigPotato up at the top is grabbing a command center, so he will be able to float that over to his natural and expand. And that is just in response to seeing the quick expansion from the Zerg. BigPotato says, yep, I'm completely fine with letting you sort of sit back and turtle a little bit. I'm going to get my own expansion.
Now, Stilgar doesn't know exactly what's going on inside the Terran player's base, given that there's no Overlord out there to spot anything that's happening. So he really needs to get some Zerglings in there, poke up that wall, and see exactly how many Marines are out right now. He knows that there's probably not going to be anything terribly cheesy going on, as for a bunker hasn't gone down yet, but he will poke up there and see how many Marines are out there, and that'll give him a good idea that, at this point, BigPotato is probably just going to expand. Now, he did get a spine caller up, and he's getting a couple of spine callers up, because you will see that the number of Marines out right now is pretty large at this point, and he doesn't want to succumb to any early pressure from those Marines, as our last players did, or as our last Zerg player did. Now getting metabolic boost, which is going to be great for those Zerglings. At this point, though, that's only for defense. He just wants to take map control. He's going to get Zerglings out there, going to be able to take any of Zelnaga watchtowers that are open. And at this point, I think that's all the Zerg player can really do. He wants to drone up as hard as possible. Now, it does look like our Terran player is getting a factory, and it a tech lab that's coming up on that barracks, as well as on the factory. So we might be seeing some Blue Flame Hellions coming out rather early. Both gases are down, so we might see Blue Flame coming up on that tech lab, and as many Hellions as possible coming out. And Marine Hellion pressure is just so popular at this point against Zerg players if you're not going 2-rat. And that, I think, would be a great way to follow up this expansion, which will end up going down on that natural fairly soon. It is Norfolk Samson. Yeah, there we go.
The Stilgar was able to float an Overlord over the base and spot just about everything that is going on. He knows that this command center is done. He didn't see it start moving over here, but he's got to have a good guess after having seen that. And he throws down a Baneling nest. Banelings, I don't know if you've heard, pretty darn good against Marines, and if they can catch Hellions, pretty good against Hellions, as Hellions do count as light units. However, what we are seeing is BigPotato is using this tech lab not to get Blue Flame, which can be very strong against drones and Zerglings, but instead researching siege tech. So we are looking at a very heavy Marine tank army. His tech lab on the barracks is going to be researching Stimpack, an all-important upgrade for those Marines and Marauders if BigPotato chooses to get them. But given that we're seeing a Baneling nest and Zerglings and Baneling speed now going down, BigPotato really does not have a great reason to go Marauders. He's not going to see any Roaches, as the Zerg player doesn't even have a Roach Warren. He's not going to see any other armored units, so there should be no need to get those Marauders, which are just great against armored units. But they're okay against other units, but they really come to shine when they're attacking armored units, such as those Roaches.
Now we should be getting some medevacs out fairly soon. The starport is going down for a Terran player, and I imagine now with layer tech coming up, that Spire should be coming down fairly soon for our Zerg player. With mutas on the field, those tanks are not going to be able to do much if they're on their own. There's going to need to be a lot of Marine support and medevacs to back those up. Now, with another barracks out, he is committing to quite a few Marines. There are 2 barracks coming up at the moment, and right now just pushing out tanks as fast as possible. It doesn't look like either of the players are gearing up to take a third at this point. Our Zerg player is still just trying to drone up, and a very small Zergling force coming up right in front of our Zerg player's base. He wants to be able to scout anything that comes in this way. It looks like he started to take out the destructible rocks in front of his base, but kind of quit on doing that. And all the Marines and siege tanks are going to be out right in front of this Delmaga watchtower to prepare for any Zerglings that want to make their way in Pesterlings, as we've been told.
So we are seeing some Marines being loaded up inside this medevac, probably going to see this used for drop play. However, Stilgar is in control of that center watchtower, so Potato will have to be careful as to where he takes this medevac. And he's also got this Overlord sitting right at the back of his base, and unfortunately for BigPotato, that Overlord is right in the path. So let's take a look. Does Stilgar spot this? He's got his eyes on the army up front. He's worried about that. That little red dot is unnoticed, and he will probably be very sad to see that. However, this attack is getting dominated by the Baneling, taking out every single Marine, and those tanks getting cleaned up. However, the drop is occurring in the natural. Just a couple queens there to try and clean that up. And it's not going to be enough. Those Marines probably getting a good amount of kills before getting taken out by the Zerglings. And look at that, only 1 worker killed on each side. So not a very successful attack by BigPotato. Definitely did not do the damage he wanted to. Units lost about equal in number, but if you take a look at the resources, 2,700 resources lost for BigPotato. Compare that to only about 1,600 from Stilgar. Stilgar definitely came ahead in that battle.
Now, if we look at upgrades at this point, our Marines have 0-0. There's nothing going on for them at this moment, whereas the Zerglings from our Zerg player are 1-1, and level 2 attack is on the way. We just saw Spire get thrown down for our Zerg player, which means those mutas will be there to do some serious harassment against our Terran player. Now, we have a little Zergling force moving out to spot these Marines that we're trying to control, to get a little bit of map control. and they all just got swallowed up by those Zerglings, like, unbelievably. Now this medevac back here, right next to the Overlord, looks like he's trying to pretend to be an Overlord. He's just like, oh, I'm just hanging out, maybe perhaps trying to talk to that Overlord, but it looks like our Terran player knows that that mutas are about to be popping on the field, and so he grabs the missile turrets, put them up in his mineral lines right as he geared up, and took his second expansion to the third base. Now, he really needs that economy boost, and with a three base Terran on 3 base Zerg, the Terran is going to have a slight economic advantage, given he's going to have those mules out very soon, very quickly, and another drop has loaded up in the middle of the map. Zergling's trying to come out to stop it, but I don't think they're going to be back in the base in time to deal with it. Oh, well, looks like they will.
This drop does turn around. BigPotato, realizing that the Zerglings know about it, has to assume that Stilgar is going to be able to react, and so he pulls away. Another drop happening up here at the third base. BigPotato scouts this, and is going to be able to take out one drone before he burrows, and his Marines all get cleaned up. Don't know why he's not choosing to just load them up in the medevac and save himself some minerals. But if we take a look at the unit counting station, what we're seeing here is a very not ideal situation if you're a Zerg player. Zerg does have his third base. He is starting to mine there, as opposed to BigPotato, who does not quite have his third up and running. But you take a look at that unit counting station, 71 SCVs to only 48 drones. Stilgar has had to use a lot of larvae on these Zerglings and morphing them into banelings in order to stay alive. Now, he has done a great job in fending off those attacks, but he really just does not have the drone count to be able to keep up. Now up to 60 drones. And an infestation pit going down before we've even seen any mutalisks. I'm sorry, we do see 8 mutalisks on the field, and they are attacking the Terran base.
They're trying to take out that engineering bay as finally we're getting some upgrades for these Marines. But at this point, they are well behind in upgrades, and the Zerglings are just going to be terribly dangerous for them. Now, those mutas did swing in. They weren't able to get anything. They got repelled by the missile turret that's right on top of the that mineral line. But if I were controlling those mutas, I might have gone to try to take care of the SCVs that are on gas at that point. Instead of going for that engineering bay, which would have taken a very long time to go down, perhaps just disrupt the gas income, the gas economy for our Terran player, so that he wouldn't have been able to get out as many tanks as he has out right now. Those mutas are swinging over those tanks, going to try to take them out. One tank does go down, and it looks like 2 will go down, and now swinging out. A couple mutas did get lost there, but I think that was well worth it for our Zerg player. Now, I wish that our Terran player would take care of a couple of these medevacs that are just kind of sitting around the map. Right now, they are useless. If he got them in, those Marines might have been able to take out a couple of more of those mutas, maybe get a stim or 2 in, and been able to cause some serious damage. But given those medevacs are way out in the far reaches of the field, there's not much that they can do for anybody at this point.
Now, we do see a slow push happening from BigPotato. He's just sort of leapfrogging these tanks down the field. That is going to be so powerful against that Zergling Baneling mix. And wisely learning from his mistake, he's pairing just a couple Marines with each tank that's going to be guarding that. Mutalist is going to try and swipe in here, or swoop in here, and take out that third base. But there are 4 missile turrets going up there, and so they are forced to repel. A couple of these guys as low as 28 HP. They are not going to last very much longer against all these Marines, especially if they get a stim off. This push continuing to happen, going up, taking the center Zelnaga tower. He is just able to throw scans down and take out these creep tumors, which has got to be scaring Stilgar, who responded by getting a risky 4th base at this high-yield expansion. We'll have to see how long that lasts. My guess is not very long.
Now, it looks like our Terran player is only on 2 bases at this point, because of the fact, he's only mining off of 1 base. He has a huge group of SCVs just sitting there at his main, not doing anything. He has a small group of SCVs not doing anything. He doesn't realize that they're not mining at the third. Looks like there's a big engagement in the middle. Zerglings and Bane's taking out a ton of Marines, mutas swinging in, taking care of all those tanks, and it looks like all the tanks will go down. Marines are swinging and trying to take care of the mutas are going to be unable to do so. Our Terran players lost all central map control. There was absolutely wonderful creep spread going on from our Zerg player, going to be able to move in over the center of the map. That's never something that a Terran player wants to do. Now, he is still rallying his tanks upwards towards the center of the map, which is not something I entirely agree with. That little Marine count isn't going to be able to do much for them when a lot of Banelings and Zerglings move in.
Stilgar is maintaining control over the center, moving in, going to try and take out the Zerglings. A couple of Banelings able to get in there and clean that up, and Stilgar once again wipes the floor with this Terran army, and he's going to move in for the kill. We'll have to see how well this does. He is getting distracted by a couple SCVs there. SCVs hold up the line here. It's natural as Fearless just sort of fly around the center of the map, not really doing anything, but there are just so many Zerglings up at 2-2 upgrades. And they are having 3 upgrades researching, and BigPotato GG's out, and that is game 1 in this round 2 match between Stilgar and BigPotato.
This is going to be a best of 3, so there's still an opportunity for our Terran player to come back, but I think one of the biggest problems with our Terran player was that he didn't get his economy up and booming when he could have. It looked like I want to take a look at these graphs over here, check out how his economy was doing. Let's see, resource collection rate. Yeah, our Terran player had a huge dip when his main was mined out. He had a group of SCVs doing nothing at his third. There was really not much that he could have done to defend anything from the Zerg player, who was taking a gold at the time. There's no harassment coming in. He did do a few drops early on, but the economy was booming for our Zerg player, and once that happens, there's very, very little you can do to fend off any attacks.
All right, well, as Unctious mentioned, we will be right back for Game 2, and I'm going to take a short break just so I get a nice little video break, but we will be back in just a few minutes. Until then, I am Nacho Cheese.
And I'm Unctious.
See you guys soon.